The hero of the story is named Roy. He and his apprentice Frank make a living by cheating. In order to sell cheap water filter, they would call some elderly people and claim that they had won the lottery. Prizes can be chosen from cars, jewelry, or overseas travel. Since prizes are subject to high taxes, they will take the opportunity to suggest to purchase government-subsidized water filters to offset the tax. In this way, cheap water filters are sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. In order to prevent the scam from being exposed, the two would then pretend to be police detectives claiming that they are investigating a fraud case. After some pretentious questioning, they will come to the conclusion that the money will probably not be retrieved. The deceived person has no idea that this is a trick, so he has to finally let it go. With this low-cost scam, Roy accumulates a lot of wealth. In Roy's opinion, his work is an art, because all those who are deceived voluntarily give their money to him because they are greedy. He neither steals nor robs, but although Roy always uses this excuse to comfort himself, the guilt deep in his heart has been slowly growing. He has severe mysophobia and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Because of this feeling of guilt, these symptoms are becoming more and more serious. He relies on taking medicine every day to relieve the stress. In addition to cheat, Roy lived a monotonous life without any friends. Roy accidentally knocks over a pill bottle that day, and all the pills inside falls into the sewer. He immediately calls his psychiatrist to get more medication. It turned out that his doctor has moved away quietly. Roy soon falls ill. He feels that every corner of the house is full of dust and bacteria, so he starts cleaning day and night, and even ignoring the fraud work. After not seeing his master come to work for several days, Frank takes the initiative to come to the door. Seeing how serious Roy's illness is, Frank introduces him to a new psychiatrist. The doctor prescribes some new drugs to Roy, and emphasizes that the drugs only addresses the symptoms, but not the root cause. Under the guidance of the doctor, Roy reveals his secret buried deep in his heart. He had a marriage more than 10 years ago, but because of this disgraceful profession, his pregnant wife immediately divorced him. After so many years, he wants to see his child, but he never had the courage to contact her. Roy gives his ex-wife's contact information to the psychiatrist and asks the doctor to make a call for him. Not long after, the doctor tells Roy that his ex-wife had given birth to a daughter named Angela, who is now 14 years old. Angela also wants to see her biological father. Roy and Angela then meet in a park. After discovering that he has such a lovely and beautiful daughter, Roy's mood immediately improved a lot, as well as his condition. Seeing that Roy is in a good mood, Frank takes the opportunity to suggest doing something big. It's a pity that Roy never agreed. This time, under Frank's instigation, Roy finally makes up his mind to do it. Frank has already picked a target. The guy's name is Chuck, a trade manager. Just when Roy is about to go out, his daughter comes to his door. Because of a quarrel with her mother, Angela wants to stay at her father's house for a few days in this summer vacation. After settling his daughter, Roy goes to the bar to meet Frank. The two exchanges American dollars for British pounds as bait and successfully deceives Chuck into taking the bait. Roy comes home late at night and finds his daughter asleep on the sofa. The house is in a mess and there is garbage everywhere. This makes Roy very panicked and upset. But looking at the little girl's sweet sleepy eyes, Roy's heart is filled with tenderness and fatherly love. With Angela by his side, his life that was originally like stagnant water suddenly becomes vivid again. Roy and Angela go to the supermarket together. Roy, who rarely cooks, even starts cooking for his daughter. The relationship between them gradually becomes close and warm. Even his mysophobia and obsessive-compulsive disorder have been alleviated a lot after the arrival of his daughter. One night, Roy comes home and finds that his daughter is not at home. He waits until very late before his daughter comes back. Because he is worried that Roy could not help but get angry and threatens to send his daughter to his ex-wife. Angela then complains that her father is not a good person, because Roy lied to her and said he was an antique dealer. But Angela found a large amount of cash and pistols. She thought it's impossible for an antique dealer to hide these two items in his home. Looking at his crying daughter, Roy feels distressed and regretful. He remembers that the psychiatrist told him that he should learn to be honest with his daughter. So Roy apologizes to his daughter and reveals his identity as a liar. Unexpectedly, Angela is very excited and wants to learn some tricks from her father. Finally, Roy decides to show off his skills. He drives his daughter to the lottery sales station, then buys a lottery ticket based on the winning numbers the day before, and deliberately changes one of the numbers to avoid making the prize amount too high to be true. Then he blurs the date of the ticket, and then crumples the lottery ticket into a ball. Next he chooses somebody who seems easy to deceive. Asks Angela to throw the lottery ticket into the store. The lady quickly takes the bait. After the lady confirms that this lottery ticket could be exchanged for a prize of $600, the lady decided to share the money with Angela. Angela deliberately claims that she is in a hurry to get home, so she has to give up her half of the prize. The enthusiastic lady takes out $300 on the spot and advances it to Angela. The scam goes extremely smooth. Angela acts harmless throughout the whole process, and it's flawless. Roy feels that his daughter has inherited his talent. However, in order to prevent his daughter from going down this wrong path, he then asks Angela to find an excuse and return the money to the lady. Then Frank calls when the two are about to go home. The trap they set for Chuck needs to be done in advance. Because Chuck is going on a business trip shortly, the transaction needs to be done soon. Roy has no choice but to take his daughter to the bank to take out the pounds from the safe. Since no others are not allowed to enter, Roy adds Angela's name to the access list of his money. Roy thinks that his property will belong to his daughter anyway. Roy puts the pounds from the safe into a suitcase and heads to the airport. Just when Chuck confirms that there is no problem with the cash, a commotion suddenly breaks out at the airport. Chuck's attention is distracted, and Roy takes the opportunity to swap his box. It turns out that Frank had already hidden another identical box at the trading location. It's all filled with white paper. The person who causes the commotion is Roy's daughter Angela. The three people work successfully. However, just when Roy thinks he is done and is about to leave the airport with his daughter, Chuck found out that he had been cheated and immediately chases him. Although they manages to get rid of each other, Angela is accidentally caught on camera when she was making a scene at the airport. What's worse is that Angela has a record in the police station for a trivial matter, and the three of them are likely to be exposed. Roy and Angela quarrels again over this disagreement, and finally breaks up. Angela returns to her mother's house alone. Roy also returns to an anxious state of living alone. When he wakes up the next day, he finds that he runs out of medicine, and his symptoms are showing signs of relapse. Roy immediately calls his doctor, but no one answers the call, so he has to buy the medicine in nearby pharmacy. Unexpectedly, the guy tells him that this medicine is just an ordinary nutritional supplement and has no therapeutic effect on your symptoms. Roy goes to the doctor and asks him why he was lying to him. The doctor tells Roy that he doesn't need to take medicine at all. Taking medicine is just comforting him. It's actually his daughter who really cures Roy. The doctor's words make Roy awake. He decides to stop cheating and find a serious job. Once everything is on track, he will fight for joint custody of his daughter. Angela is moved when she learns about her father's decision. They're finally reconciled. However, when the two of them returns home happily, they find Chuck sitting on the sofa with a gun. Next to him is Frank, who is beaten severely. Chuck not only asks Roy to pay back the money, but also forces him to continue to cheat. And from now on, Roy will give him half of every penny he cheats. Otherwise, he will call the police and sends Angela to jail. For the sake of his daughter, Roy has to hand over the cash at home. Chuck is afraid that Roy would play tricks, so he asks Angela to get the money. Unexpectedly, Angela takes out the pistol instead. In panic, she accidentally hit Chuck. Chuck faints on the floor. In order to protect his daughter, Roy asks Frank to drive his daughter and flee. He stays alone to think about what to do next. After seeing the two of them off, Roy returns to the house to check on Chuck's body. However, Chuck's body disappears. Before Roy could react, he is knocked unconscious from behind. When Roy wakes up, he finds himself lying in the ward with two policemen standing next to him. They tells him that it was Chuck who knocked him unconscious. Chuck died of a gunshot afterwards. However, the police determines that the murderer of Chuck is not Roy. Because the fingerprints extracted from the pistol are small, they suspect Angela is the murderer and need Roy to provide his daughter's whereabouts. Roy immediately says that he would not say anything until he sees his psychiatrist. The police calls the psychiatrist over and give the two people time alone. Roy secretly tells the doctor the password to the safe and asks the doctor to pass the password onto his daughter so that her daughter could take away all his money. After the doctor leaves, Roy is determined to take all the blame for his daughter. What he doesn't expect is that the two policemen don't come back for questioning. Roy struggles to get out of the ward, only to realize that this is not a hospital at all, but an abandoned warehouse. Frank left him a letter at the scene, triumphantly mocking Roy for falling into his trap. Roy hurries home and checks the place where he keeps his money, but it's gone. He then goes to the bank and finds that the safe has also been emptied. The psychiatrist's office has left empty, also. Roy comes to his ex-wife's house with his last hope. However, she tells him that she had a miscarriage after the divorce. They don't even have a daughter named Angela. Now Roy finally believes. Everything that happened after meeting the psychiatrist was a trap set by Frank. 1 year has passed, and Roy has already started his new life. His life gets back on track, and he becomes the owner of a carpet store. That day, a young couple comes to the store to buy carpets. The girl turns out to be Angela. Angela sends her boyfriend away and sincerely apologizes to Roy. In fact, she was an adult a year ago and was not a teenager. After successfully defrauding Roy, Frank did not give Angela the promised reward. Angela regrets it very much, and she never deceives others again. Roy doesn't blame her. Although the relationship between the two is fake, but Roy's sincerity and family belongings, he felt, are not fake. He also cures his symptoms and mind after that. Now, he is married to a supermarket cashier he has always had a crush on and is about to have a child of his own. The movie ends here with Roy's relieved smile. Matchstick Men is a classic con movie directed by great Hollywood director Ridley Scott. Although the story is all about lying, but it also brings out an unexpected warmth in it. It seems that no matter how smart a liar is, he can't escape his own emotion. Maybe once you have a relationship, there will be always weaknesses. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.